we are going to have to decide of the limited amount of power and water that we have, where do we want to allocate it? And that's going to be the debate.
Judge Richard Cortez, thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure, Mark.
So my favorite thing to talk about is always economic development. And by chance, every time that you and I get together, we always talk about economic development. And so today we're going to talk about economic development. So since becoming Hidalgo County judge, economic development, including fighting poverty, has been something that you've focused on. There's a lot of ways to talk about economic development, but you reference a very simple question. How do we reach our full potential as an area? And you kind of break that down. Talk to us about that formula that you have.
Sure. Well, thank you for asking the question, Mark. To me, if we want to reach our full potential, well, what does that mean? It means that everybody has reached a level of quality of life that's a good quality of life. And that means that we have to give opportunity to everybody that lives here and for them to reach the full potential. But we have a lot of people here that are not skilled, that lack education, lack training. So a big component of what we're trying to do is create human capital. In fact, we've done that somewhat fairly well. We've graduated, close to 100,000 college graduates here in some of the years that UTRGV has been here in South Texas College and now Texas A&M, but only to lose our people because the jobs were not here. So one of the things that we want to do is really to create human capital among our people. And that means that not everybody's going to be a college graduate. Somebody's going to be a welder, someone's going to be a plumber, someone's going to be an electrician, but all of those skills are important. We don't want to just give money to people for the sake of giving them. We want them to earn it. So that means that we have to create human capital. The reason areas like Austin, the Austin area where Dell Computers is because they had a natural flow of young talent all of the time. Dell Computers is never going to move out of that northern Austin area because the flow of young people, talented people are there. We have to do the same thing here.
And in Austin, it's not so much the cost of living that's irrelevant to Dell Computers because the skill set and the labor is more valuable or more important than, hey, what the cost of living in, even if it's higher than other areas.
Well, and the other thing that I want to talk to you about is the quality of life. The quality of life is another important component of attracting the type of businesses and industries that we want.
And then one thing, of course, not everyone's going to go be a doctor and an attorney, but now we have an all-time high demand for electricians, plumbers, welders, and guess what? They're making really good money these days. You cannot find, and so for someone to be able to pick up some type of trade certificate that gives them a pathway to this high demand. For the longest time, go be a doctor, go be an attorney. We forgot about the plumbers and the electricians, and now we need them back.
Yeah. Mark, according to statistics, I think the average plumber and electrician in the United States is in the late 50s. Okay, so that tells you what the need's going to be here in a very short time.
Years ago, we talked about SpaceX, and this was before SpaceX had any infrastructure built out there. And you told me, you said, Mark, the plan out there is for them to build rockets to launch to Mars. And of course, at that time, that was something very crazy to hear. Yeah. But you said that, and you said something that really stayed in my mind. You said, Mark, do you think they're going to build the rockets in Florida or California? No, they're going to build them here. And so what type of economic impact, what type of supply chains, what type of careers and businesses will that create? That was a conversation that we had less than 10 years ago. And now, what is SpaceX doing to the region?
Well, there's always a debate because you have the environmentalists and the naturalists that have a problem with it. So I'm going to speak only on the economic side of the value for SpaceX and not go into environmental issues. By the way, before I answer your question, it was just announced yesterday that the Navy is going to build ships here in Port of Brownsville. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
Okay, that's going to be 10,000, estimated 10,000 jobs. So you see where we're going, and that's why the other segment that I want to talk to you about is the need for infrastructure. But getting back to SpaceX, the future is going to be different than the present. So what's the future? What's the future? I've been to areas where I see robots that can actually carry a conversation with you. Okay, and they move like humans. I mean, they're not like, they're human-like. They're not human. So that's kind of a very scary thing, because you talk about the manual labor that we rely on have. If that manual labor can be given to a robot or through some other technology, that's kind of scary. So, our plan here, and I think that it's great to have SpaceX here because they have that intellectual ability, to help us look ahead as to what the future is going to be, so we can prepare for it. I tell people, if you stratify all our people here in the valley, you're gonna have a short pyramid. For the top of the pyramid, highly educated, highly income people, and then the bottom of the pyramid, kind of uneducated, low income. Well, our job is to turn that shape of that triangle to a Christmas tree, taller and thinner, so that everybody moves up. And I believe that companies like SpaceX are going to help us do that, because they're in the type of business that we need to have here.
Yeah, what I think SpaceX has just done is showed people in the fields of welding, electricians, plumbers, and other specialty blue-collar jobs. It's reminded us how in demand and how important that skill set is. I think that's what SpaceX has shown the region. When it comes to Hidalgo County reaching its full potential, the South Texas Rioplex reaching its full potential, workforce, we're talking about that. So what initiatives and what are you focusing on specifically in workforce to help us raise the bar there?
Well, we're partnering with our educational institutions and our trade schools to make sure that we're training people for the right positions, the right jobs, and that's not just a one category item, because I discuss with people my belief and thinking. I said we really have three strategies. We have a strategy for today. What are the needs of today? But what are the needs of tomorrow? And tomorrow means that we're going to have things we didn't have today. If we're good at advocating for the things that are missing here to attract others to come here. But then 10 years from now or 12 years from now, our fifth graders or those young kids, when they graduate, I mean, the jobs of today are going to be gone. The jobs of tomorrow are going to be different. So it's the constant adjustment to what has happened. Who would ever think that I can be wearing a watch right here that will tell me that the noise is too loud, or tell me that my heartbeat has gone down, or it's too fast? All that information right here in a watch. I mean, that's pretty scary. So just imagine another 5 or 10 years from now, what technology is going to do. But workforce is critical, and that's why I believe that besides all the things that we're doing, we have to look at the cultural side of the Rio Grande Valley of Rioplex. Okay, we want to make sure that young people, young families, live well, have fun, and have things to do here. In the valley, when I was mayor of McAllen, people would come in from Mexico or other parts and says, Mayor, ¿Qué hago ahí? What do I do? You know, and so our entertainment here was going to have dinner somewhere because
That was it.
that was it. So we need to work on children's museums. We need to work on you know festivals and you know quality of life, music, you know all those things to really you know attract and keep young people.
And there's a formula for that, right? That has been very, very successful. You know, our family, neighbors, partners south, Mexico City, Monterrey, and other parts of Mexico that have always visited South Texas. Over the last year, 2025, it was I would say a year of uncertainty, and that was a little hurtful to the economy because it's very difficult to operate a business when things are uncertain. I know that the demand for workforce definitely shot up, right? We already had a shortage of workforce and it grew. What have you seen? What have you seen last year that has not necessarily been helpful to the economy in terms of immigration?
Well, the president administration that we have in Washington and even somewhat even here in the state in some instances, you know, I understand the issue of immigration. You know, when you're violating the law, you're violating the law, and we're a republic, we're a country of laws, and they should be respected. But when you have a bad law or a law that's not working, then you change it. You change it for the benefit of everyone, for the benefit of our country, for the benefit of the immigrant. And I was a chairman of the Board of Trade Alliance, back in the early 90s. And right after when President Reagan gave amnesty to, I think, estimated 12 million undocumented immigrants, okay, but the law never changed. So the problem was not solved by giving amnesty to 12,000.
It was a Band-Aid.
Okay, I mean the problem continued. So what do you do? What do you do when the people, our neighbors around us, have all these problems where their young daughter is in jeopardy of being taken and put into sex slavery, or where a young 13 or 14-year-old boy is taken to a gang and they force him to be a gang member? Well, that family wants to leave that area because that's a very toxic area.
As anyone would.
As anybody would. And then they come here, and when they come here, they have to eat. They have to eat. So, you know, they have to start working, and they don't have time to go through the process of coming here legally. So, to me, you know, what defines humanity is really charity. I mean, that's really what defines us from animals or other thing is that you know we're human and we're charitable. So I think that what would help America is we solve that problem, and we need to heal as citizens of America with that issue because it's very divided right now. Somebody else could sit here and argue a different side than what I just did.
Yeah, and I try not to get political when it comes to the economy because it's all based around public policy, right? It's what is the environment, what are the rules that we're operating in, and is this the best way to operate? If you have people here who are law-abiding citizens and contributing to the workforce, and you know their kids that they've had here in the U.S. are American citizens, or they got here at 1 year old and basically American citizens, I think that there's a better way to turn them into an asset because they want to be an asset to America.
And that's what I don't understand. If 95%, let's say, I'm going to go to extreme, 5% are bad people and 95 are good people, then you fix 95% of the problem by changing their status. Right now, America is aging. The baby boomers are retiring. They're getting older. One of the big jobs of tomorrow is caring for the elderly. Okay, so who's going to care for the elderly? and there's different cares. There's a medical care, but there's just, cleaning your poop, cleaning your bed, all of those things. And typically, a lot of those jobs are done by immigrants that are coming here and just they're looking for work and things like that nature. But anyway, I hope this country heals on that issue, and we sit down together and solve the problem. In a perfect world, there's a perfect solution. There's not going to be a perfect solution to immigration. Immigration is an issue throughout the globe right now.
Yes.
So we're never going to solve it, but we can certainly try to make it better.
Yeah, and all of the things that move the economic development needle, they're all problems that you're never done solving it, right? Because as soon as you get to the goal, the needle is moved. Yep. When it comes to keeping workforce here, you talk about making sure that it's an attractive place to live, quality of life, education, public education. With Texas A&M, UTRGV, South Texas College, we have so many educational institutions that are focusing on, creating skill sets in the community, strengthening the workforce development. Do you think there's more room for educational institutions, or do you think that what we have is going to be sufficient?
Wow, that is a super question and one that needs to be answered. What I am seeing now, and I am speaking to people, is this 4-year program to become a college graduate was working in the past, but not necessarily working today. There are several college graduates that have graduated from college and are still looking for a job, okay? But the one that did my sonogram the other day went to school for 1.5 years. And it's a she, and she learned that skill, and she's making good money with 1.5 years of education.
Sign me up.
Okay, so I think we need to relook at all of that and see where the needs are, and how we can have a faster pace to give you the knowledge and skills that you need, to really, have a good living and earn a good income. And I see that coming. There are other programs for this cybersecurity. I think it's 90 days or 120 days. They can teach you a lot, because right now, I'm afraid to use my computer or do anything with my computer or the internet, because I don't know who's watching it. I don't know who's looking at my data. So imagine small businesses that don't have the brain power to protect them, from cyber attacks. So that's going to be a very tremendous. So I see all of this changing, and here in the Valley. One of the things that I learned a long time ago, being in management, is if you're not specific in the task that you want, then you're not going to accomplish the task. If you don't fix responsibility to someone to assign for that task, then you're going by chance. So to me, you want to be specific in what you want to do, and you want to have a specific person or group of people charged with that task.
What's not measured can't be managed.
Yeah, that's right.
I see the educational institutions, public schools, higher education. I see them all pivoting and adjusting to the times, and the times are, we need an educated workforce and skill set, certifications, degrees faster.
Yes.
It
Yes.
can't. Yeah, we need it
Yes.
faster.
Yes.
And I see it working. You saw first example after 1.5 years, right, of schooling. And what I'm also seeing, JP Morgan Chase, they came out and said they're going to open up a few thousand new branches because they believe the future of banking is in person. A few years ago, the future of banking was not in person. You had banks like Capital One close all of the branches. So, sometimes we make predictions of the future, and it's not necessarily true. I personally believe that in-person service, there's going to be a value there. And people are really going to prefer that because, like you say, AI, it looks real, it sounds real, but you know it's not real. And it's something that I think the market's going to have to adjust to.
Mark, that's one of my pet peeves. Every time I have a charge on my American Express card or anything, I call the number and they take me through all of this process. It's just give me a person to talk to.
Press 0.
Yeah.
Okay, so one interesting topic around Texas and lots of parts of the country, data centers. Are they good? Who are they good for? And is there a better way to use the resources that they require, right? To allocate resources. What have you seen on data centers, and how do you feel about them coming to Hidalgo County?
Wow, I had that conversation yesterday with a prominent business leader. Mark, I don't know the answer to that yet, and here's what I've been told, because I don't have facts for myself, that they use a large amount of power and water, and they have low employment. Okay, but if they go to Elsa, Texas, and says, "Hey, I'm going to put in a $50 million investment in your city," well, Elsa's going to say yes, okay, because they're going to receive an ad valorem tax on $50 million. I mean that, and I'm just using $50 million as an example, whatever the amount is. But we're giving up future power and water that we're not going to have to offer the next person, the next industry that comes over here. So I believe that we are going to have to decide of the limited amount of power and water that we have, where do we want to allocate it? And that's gonna be the debate. And I don't have an answer today, but that's something that we're going to have to, have some discussion and debate over. One of the things that I do want to talk to you about is the need of infrastructure, and if we're going to be successful in attracting the industries that we need to attract here, we need to have a reliable source of power and a large amount of power to be successful. And we're competing with large metro areas like Houston, like Dallas, like Austin, San Antonio. So we better have a good advocacy program here for us to be able, to really advocate for our proper share if we're going to have a good future.
Infrastructure, it's so important. Some of the biggest, job creators that really move areas. McAllen based its entire economy around it is in industrial manufacturing, right? Because you have one big manufacturer that comes and occupies 100,000 square feet, and they normally provide a couple hundred jobs, right? If not thousands. When we talk to manufacturers, as a commercial broker, when they're calling and looking at the area, they see the skill set. They know it's there. They know they can bring their people here. The question that they have is always about electrical capacity, right? And having that's what you're talking about. We need to be ready because we're competing with those other big markets for those users.
For those users and the power that ERCOT controls.
So, ERCOT, is that a public policy hurdle that we have to solve on distribution of electricity? Talk to us a little bit about that. Is there any hurdle that ERCOT holds us back?
Yes. You need a permit from them for the size of power lines that are coming here. And here's my little knowledge, and if I sound ignorant, I'm somewhat, yes. I have limited knowledge on the area, but of what I know is you have different sizes of power distribution lines coming. So you have the small one, the medium, and the large, okay? But when you're running a power line over here, you need right-of-way, land right-of-way, okay? So land right-of-way takes a long time to acquire because you're dealing with multiple owners and you're debating on what are you gonna pay for that right-of-way. I mean, it's a cumbersome, long thing. So to me, what I'm gonna try to advocate for this region is to justify through factual information the need to do a large line today, not a small line.
For future capacity.
Well, yeah, because as we grow and need more, then I can't have it right away because it's gonna take me a long time to get the land easements to do another small line or another medium line. So that's one of the things that's on my to-do list.
So you're focused on the infrastructure not for the next year or two, but for long-term capacity.
To prepare us for the future, to prepare us for the present and the future. And if we're successful in that, then we're gonna have a competitive advantage over the areas that don't have it. You take, for instance, northern Mexico. You know, the city of McAllen was really the one that helped develop the maquila industry on the northern side of Mexico, because we were really the ones that were spending money and bringing them here. Well, now they're short of two things. They're short of workforce and they're short of power. So that's going to slow down that industry somewhat through, external factors that they don't have control over.
There's always an opportunity when I hear information like that for someone in the business, private sector to solve that problem, because there's going to be a lot of hurt, right, if those things do come to pass.
Well, Mark, there's two things that inference is valuable. If you're able to have what others don't have, that puts you in a competitive advantage over the other ones. And if you don't have what others have, that puts you in a competitive disadvantage. So where would you want to be? I want to be in a competitive advantage.
So what do you see South Texas, Rioplex, what are our major competitive advantages in your viewpoint?
I think we have a very unique area, and we are a diamond in the rough. I wish I were your age, really, to take advantage of what I think that certainly can happen here if we properly manage ourselves. We're right smack in the middle of three huge economies, the US, Texas, and Mexico. We are a community of communities in two countries, in two cultures. We have 13 international bridges. We have 7 airports. We have 3 seaports. We have a SpaceX. We have a medical school. We have colleges and universities. We have really pretty good weather year-round. That weather is really, other than hurricane season that interrupts us from time to time, we don't deal with blizzards and things of this nature. And we have a lot of young people. Our median age, I believe, is 28 or 29 years old. We're talking to some companies that are very interested in coming here because they looked at all of the statistics, and we have a lot of young females, and they were looking to hire a lot of young females for certain technical skills. So I think when people know about us, I think we're going to attract a lot of people. Our weaknesses are we need to have more access to rail. We need to have more more power, and we need to have a reliable source of water.
So when we talk about the formula of the area reaching its full potential, we talk about workforce, infrastructure, and then the other component is the communication, the marketing, because you could be the best around and have the best environment and what people want, but if they don't know about you, there's a problem. You're not going to sell. Talk to us about how you've been trying to solve that communication, marketing hurdle that South Texas has had.
Well, I don't want to criticize the people that have been doing this for many years, because I think they've done a good job with what they have, but I think one of the reasons that we haven't been more successful than what we've been in the past is that we've been very fragmented. When we go to a trade show, let's say Las Vegas as one example. We go as Brownsville, we go as Harlingen, we go as Weslaco, we go as McAllen, we go as Edinburgh, we go as Mission. Houston metro area, Dallas metro area, they go as those metro areas, okay? And let's take a retailer. What's a retailer? A retailer's looking for critical mass. I mean, you want high-income people and a lot of consumers. Okay, so really, Mission or even McAllen, you're going to compete, for those things out there. So to me, I think if we combine all of the assets that Rioplex has, wow, I mean, that's pretty impressive. However, we need rail is one that we have it on the eastern part of Rioplex over there on Cameron County. We need to work on rail. We need to work on more mobility, east and west. If you're in the expressway now, my God, I mean, it's almost totally congested. So we're going to have to work on mobility, which is roads. We need to work on rail. We need to work on more power, and certainly water. Excuse me for that. Yesterday I had a meeting with all the water people. NatBank gave us $700,000 to study water, and I think hopefully a year from now we'll have the results of the study, and hopefully some solution. My understanding is that we have a tremendous amount of groundwater that's available. So I think for municipal use, I don't think none of us will go thirsty. But one of the things that we want to continue to protect is our agricultural industry, and that's going to be a harder task.
Our agriculture industry, I mean, that was the original stronghold of South Texas,
That's
right?
our DNA.
Yeah, and so I can definitely agree with that. What are the next big initiatives that you're focusing on for Rioplex?
Well, some of the meetings we're going to have here in the near future is, we have an ambassador group, and the ambassador group is designed basically to be the messengers to go. And the idea was, instead of sending 12 people from this area to the same place, let's send one group from this area to this place, and 11 to 11 other places. Okay.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah. So we can cover more areas. So we're going to be identifying the different areas that we want to build relationships. Business is centered around relationships.
Of course.
And we want to go to England and London and build relationships with the people from that area. We want to go to Paris and build relationships with them. We want to go to Germany and build relationships with them from this area. And then, one of the things that science teaches us is there's really three components to this communication: is what's the message, who's going to deliver the message, and who you're going to deliver it to. Okay, it's important who you're going to deliver it to. I sit in the board of a bank, and there are relationships between banks. So let's say that we have a company in Indianapolis, let's say, and they use Wells Fargo as their bank. Well, through our banking connections, we can say, hey, we're not interested in your banking client. We're interested in one of your clients that maybe want to move down here. Can you set us up a meeting with them. I mean, look at how simple that is. So the president of a bank calls their customers, says, hey, you don't have to do anything, but maybe just listen to me. You may find them interested. So it's stuff like that that we want to do to hopefully give us a higher probability of success.
Yeah, high level collaboration. A lot of times, the public might bash economic development efforts that require, overseas trips, not knowing that you have to do this. You have to build the relationships, and sometimes it takes years to get things done. But if you don't put in that work, you're not going to, reach that accomplishment. So I think building relationships worldwide, and whenever I've traveled, no matter where I am, I can say I'm from Texas. Everyone knows Texas. And I say, oh, South Padre Island. Okay, sometimes they know South Padre Island. I say the border to Mexico, at the tip of Texas, everyone knows exactly where it is, right? And so I think the conversations that everyone from South Texas has, if you're traveling in an airport, you're talking to someone that's never been to South Texas, how you speak of your hometown, where you live, where you work, it matters. You might be talking to someone that's thinking about relocating here.
Yeah, Mark, I'm glad you touched on that because, I was asked in another interview, do you have a final word, Judge? And I said, absolutely. I said, the final word is we have to stop the negative rhetoric, okay? When I was interviewed, I think I was interviewed at least maybe 12 times because of the peak of the immigration issues that we had down here. And then in the back of because this was on television, national television, was the worst of the immigrant situation, okay? And Governor Hutchinson from Arkansas was the Director of Homeland Security, or Secretary of Homeland Security, when I was chairman of Border Trade Alliance. And so he called me that he was coming here at the invitation of Governor Abbott, and he wanted to have dinner with me. We had dinner, and he said, now, Judge, are they going to tell me the truth? I said, well, Governor, that's kind of a yes and no. And he said, what kind of BS answer is that, Judge? I said, well, no. He said, if you remember statistics, there's a bell-shaped distribution where you have, these occurrences on the right side, occurrences on the left side, and then most of the occurrences are kind of in the middle. Okay, you're going to accurately be told what's the worst in the border. So that's going to be true. But is that representative of the border, of all of the border? I said, that's where it's complicated. So right now, all of the discussion in the border is not what is good about the border. What most of the time represents the border, they're only focusing on that small part is on the bad side. So when people that have never been here talk about it, that's what they remember.
When I run into people that ask me, is it safe? I always ask them, I say, hey, well, do you believe, in the police force of the United States, regardless of whether it's at the state level or federal level? Always. Everyone's always back the blue. You will, right? Well, what happens when you have the DEA, the FBI, the CIA, Customs, Border Patrol, state troopers, the National Guard, and then all of the local city municipality policing forces? What does that give you? You're going to have one of the safest places to live in the entire country. You either believe that we have the best or you don't, right? And so when we put out the facts like that, it's hard to argue that, right?
Well, I feel safer here in this area than I do anywhere else in the world. No matter where I go on other parts of the world, I feel safer here.
Judge, thank you so much for your time this morning. I think the message today is we need to continue to focus on reaching our full potential as a region And it is a mission and a job that we will never necessarily accomplish because we will always focus on getting better.
That's a true statement.
Thank you so much, Judge.
Thank you.